So you talk about greatness. What is the School of Greatness?
School of Greatness is something that I wanted to be a part of my entire life. I was terrible in school. I was the opposite of you, Pedram. I was terrible in school. You talk about math and reading and writing, and I couldn't do any of it. It was really challenging for me to read and to stay focused when I had a book in front of me. I just couldn't stay focused after about a paragraph. So I'd reread over things. When I went to 8th grade, I went to a private boarding school in St. Louis, Missouri, because I begged my parents to send me away from the small town I was in Ohio. I was just doing stupid stuff, and I wanted to get out of there. My parents were fighting a lot. They were going through divorce. I was like, get me out of here. And when I went to 8th grade, they put me through a number of exams, and I'm terrified of tests. I do a horrible job. I had a 2nd grade reading level, and they essentially were like, you need to be in a tutor class. We might have to hold you back a year. And I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. Do not hold me back, because I was so embarrassed of my level of ignorance with schoolwork and with that type of learning. And so the School of Greatness for me was, I had to learn how to connect with people and learn how to generate results in the real world outside of school, because I put so much focus and attention that I wasn't smart enough in school and that was going to matter in my life. And so when I started to switch that, I said, there's other things that mean something in life. And I remember hearing or reading a quote that someone said, maybe you know who said this, that people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And when I saw that or heard it, whenever it was, I remember thinking, I've got a chance in this life, in this world. And there's more than just books and schoolwork. And so I'm a big proponent of, an advocate of learning and growth. I'm huge on learning and growth. I'm constantly learning. I love to learn and grow. But I want to learn in a different way. And that's the School of Greatness.
That's hilarious. I was having a dinner the other night talking about education with some new parents, and I'm a new parent, and you don't trip about these things until you have to get there.
Right.
And it was like this whole, like, I love up this kid and I hand him over to this system, and then I pray that they're not going to fuck them up, right? And
Right.
It's a big thing, right? And then we start talking about how, like, our education system really started to adapt after, like, the communists did their thing, and we became, leave it to Beaver, and everyone sit up straight, and here's your pencil, and this whole model of, like, society that tried to fit everyone into this mold. And guys like you are just like, what? I
couldn't
can't
do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
And you're obviously a smart dude, right? And so how did you turn that corner? Like, okay, so you're like, all right, maybe I'm not dumb, maybe I'm not a reject. I'm going to start learning and figuring stuff out on my own. Where do you go from there, especially at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to think that I wasn't a reject, because I literally thought I was. I thought something was wrong with me my whole childhood because of that, because everyone else, it was easy for them to do homework and get good grades, and it was such a struggle. It started to shift when I put all this negative energy into sports after school. So this is where I could let it out, get my aggression out, and feel like I mattered. Luckily there was sports and recess, because I was able to perform in a way that I could show my talents and my skills. And that was showing how hard I worked. I was willing to sacrifice constantly my body and my, to come early and to train late. I really cared for my teammates, and I saw the value of having a team. I was very coachable. Like, anytime a coach told me, do this, do that, do this, I would do it and then some. So I learned that, okay, I can still get results in sports by, being a great teammate, listening, working my butt off, like going the extra mile, doing all these things that we all know what to do. And I saw them pay off. I saw that I was all-state in 3 sports in high school. Then I was all-American in 2 sports in college. And then a professional athlete. So I saw the rewards from the work and the prices I paid to get those rewards. And then when I got injured playing arena football, and I went through a 2-year depression state, because I put my whole identity around my worthiness in my ability to perform as an athlete. And that's all I knew. I didn't study in school. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have a college degree yet. And after I got injured, I was sleeping on my sister's couch for 2 years, about a year and a half. But it was 2 years process of me kind of getting on my own 2 feet. And she was, providing food for me and shelter for free. And I wasn't working, and I was recovering with this cast that I had on. I had a bone graft. So you know this. They took a bone out of my hip, put it in my wrist, 6 months in a cast in this position. And it was at that moment where I started to say, I have no clue what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. The only thing I do know is sports. So how can I make whatever I'm doing now into a sport? And how can I translate what I was learning as an athlete and playing on teams and put that into the next thing, whether it's getting a job or running a business or something. But that's the only thing I know what to do. And that's exactly what I did. I found some key mentors. I found teammates. I asked people to give me an itinerary for what I needed to do every single day to practice. And these are the things that I did in sports. And I just took a lot of action and threw things around. And finally, things started to stick. And then I focused on those things that were my gifts, my natural talents and gifts that I saw I had something in. I put all the energy in there to start making money. And that's where the next steps happened.
So you're on the couch, hand up, busted
Like
up,
this. Yeah.
sisters feeding you your cereal kind of
Yes.
thing.
That's it, man. Ramen
What?
and cereal.
Oh man, and that, as a man, I mean, as anybody, but
I was a 23-year-old man that was just playing in front of 20,000 people every Sunday, feeling like a god, right? And
yeah,
then I'm a nobody.
yeah, watching Scooby Doo reruns and
That's
wondering what the
it, man.
hell to do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what got you up off your ass first of all? Like what was that spark?
You know what? It's interesting because my dad had gotten in a really bad car accident the year prior. He was traveling in New Zealand with his girlfriend at the time. My parents got divorced. He was traveling, and he got hit by another car that came on top of his car, and the bumper came through and hit him through the windshield in the head. And he was in a coma for 3 months. His head split open. They had to, his girlfriend was holding it together while they cut open the car and airlifted him out to the hospital. We didn't know if he was going to survive or not. He eventually woke up 3 months later. He's alive today, but he's never been the same. He's not able to work. He's got a lot of challenges emotionally, mentally, physically. And so he's not fully the dad that I once knew. And in some ways, that was the spark because I always had a backup plan with my dad. He had finally kind of like gotten his groove with his business where he was at when I was in my late teens, early 20s before his accident. And he always said, go pursue your dream, give it 100%. You can always come back and work for me. And I'll give you my company one day type of thing. Come back, work for me for years. When I'm done, you can have it and off you go. And so I never thought of like having to be creative and resourceful and learn on how to take care of myself. I always had him to rely on. So when I got done and I was injured and I was done, he was injured and essentially he had to sell his company and he hasn't worked since. So I didn't have that as a backup plan. I said, holy shit, like what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I don't have this backup plan. I probably would not be here today if my dad was healthy and had his business because I probably would have been like, all right, I'm going to go live in Ohio and work with my dad and do that.
You'd
But I
be
was
on
like,
so much Prozac.
exactly. I had to be stressed. I'd be like miserable. I'd be, whatever.
Yeah.
And I realized from an early age that like I was supposed to do something to serve the world. I didn't know what it was, but I always had this like calling. And that was it. For the first few months after watching Scooby Doo reruns for a few months, I finally said, like, I've got to do something. And I reached out to these key mentors. These three key mentors I had early on were kind of the spark. They challenged me to step up. They said, just try something and do it. One of them said, get on LinkedIn early on. Maybe you'll find some opportunities. So that meant for me, I spent 6 hours a day on LinkedIn for the next year and a half. And I built up incredible relationships and learned a lot about one thing. I didn't try to do everything. I mastered one thing for 2 years, and everyone came to me for advice. And everyone asked me to coach them, and everyone asked me to speak at their conference because I was working hard to put information out there and to educate people. I wrote a book about LinkedIn. Then I started doing webinars about LinkedIn. And in my first webinar, I made $6,200 teaching LinkedIn. And it blew me away that I could make that much money in an hour. And so I said, okay, I'm going to focus on this. And I could do this for the rest of my life if I still enjoy it and it continues to make an impact on others and increase my income. And for the last 6.5 years, I've been doing webinars consistently every week for the last 6.5, 7 years because it continues to make an impact on people, make an income, and I have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, you've done really well for yourself, and
Thank you.
So looking back at that era when you were flat on your back on that sofa, That's I think everyone in life has one of those moments. It
Yeah.
might be more pronounced, it might be less pronounced, but it's just like, what the hell am I doing, and what is my looking down the barrel of that future, and that stick to itness. That's something I want to stay on for a second, because 6 hours a day on LinkedIn, some would consider excessive,
Yeah.
right? But
It
you were that guy,
was,
you
for
were that
sure.
guy that would show up at practice and keep going. So
That's it, man.
what the hell, what is that? Like, how did you find that drive to stay on
I,
there?
Originally it was to prove people wrong. It was to prove everyone wrong that said, I told you so, that told me I wasn't good enough when I was in elementary school. The people that said, go get a regular job. It was coming from a place of resentment, frustration, and anger. So I said, I'm going to do this in spite of you. And it worked to create incredible results. That energy and fuel was very powerful. But I remember in sports, I lived this way as well, all through my early childhood through professional football. It was out of in spite and proving people wrong that I'm going to be great in sports, and it was proving the people wrong who made fun of me as a kid and all these other things. And although it helped me achieve incredible goals that I had, I always felt leaving after it. I was a two-sport All-American. That was my dream since I was 5. And each one of those sports that I achieved it in, right afterwards, about 15 minutes, I was the loneliest, most depressed person in the world. And I was mad and angry. And I was like, I just achieved everything I wanted. Why am I not happier and more fulfilled? And I didn't understand until a few years ago why I was this way. And it's because I was coming from a place of proving people wrong. And that was my inspiration for being great, as opposed to inspiring and being in service of people. And that being my motivation for why I want to achieve results, is to be a symbol of inspiration that, hey, I can pursue my dreams and achieve it in a positive way, and so can you. And ever since I've shifted that, like, I felt so much lighter. I feel so much more fulfilled. I have even more energy to go through when it's challenging, and I don't feel like exhausted at the end of the day. I feel like I did a great job, and I'm spent, but I'm ready to go the next day. It's like a more renewed energy, a rechargeable energy that's unlimited, as opposed to this, like, I need to really, I don't know. Like, I was getting really unhealthy. I gained about 35 pounds when I was living this way. And, I just wasn't conscious or intentional about how I was doing things. I was just like, I need to do it. I need to do it. I need to do it to prove people wrong, as opposed to, let's be aware of my body, my mind, my heart. How's everything feeling while I'm doing this? And it's shifted everything since.
That get it done at any cost mentality. I mean, you could see it. You could see it with the economy. You could see it with the pollution in our air, and it's almost, you almost think of like Darth Vader in a way, right? Like, fueled by anger. It's the quicker path, right? But
it gets you there, man. It'll drive you there.
yeah, anger. I mean, anger is good medicine, and a lot of guys, I think, you're an athlete, so you get it, right?
Yes.
Like, some of the nicest guys I've ever met are like athletes that, like, light people up, or like punch each other in the face and go out for a drink, versus people that are all soft and yogi and like judge anger. And anger, there's a use for anger, but you overstepped, right? Like,
I overstepped.
It became your food. It became your fuel.
It was everything, and that's what left me. It was the opposite of the urban monk. And there's a guy, I'm forgetting his name right now, is a psychologist who wrote a book called The Upside of Your Dark Side. And he actually says that these negative, angry emotions that a lot of people say aren't good to have are actually really powerful and positive in some ways. And you shouldn't suppress these emotions, these feelings. You should allow yourself to be angry for a moment, but it shouldn't consume and control you.
Yeah.
And you should be aware of it. And so it's a healthy expression, as opposed to reacting towards someone or lashing out at someone. That's not healthy. But expressing it to a friend, or in the pillow, punching a pillow and letting something out. If you don't let it out in a healthy way, someday it might come out in a very unhealthy way, I would say.
Oh man, it drip releases. I mean, how many assholes
Right?
do you know in your life who just, needed to kind of let stuff out a long time ago, and it's just kind of worked its way into their personality.
Exactly. And I was so much more reactive. I was a lot more reactive throughout life. I was triggered by people driving in LA. I was very triggered. It was a week ago, someone was driving and I had a green light, and they just turned left right in front of me, and they pulled. I was like, I'm about to be in a car crash. I slammed the brakes. This person like swerved right and left because she didn't know which way to go. She knew she was in the wrong, and luckily I swerved out of the way, and she kind of stopped and like froze in the middle of the road. And my 3, 5 year old reaction mode would have been like, F you, like screaming, honking the horn, all, reactive. And instead, I was just like, well, I can either react and be really angry in this moment, and that's not going to serve me, or I can just be like, that sucked. That was a moment. I'm okay. I'm healthy. And I turned the music back up and just started singing again. I was like, we have a decision. We have a choice in every moment. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm sure I lash out at people left and right sometimes in moments. I'm not like the monk in the hills who can just like be Zen 24/7, but I'm saying I'm much more aware of it and conscious of it.
I gotta say, the monk in the hills who's Zen 24/7, I challenge him to come down and live in LA for a couple months and see how much of it sticks, right?
Exactly.
You gotta pressure test that stuff. And
Yeah.
man, when you get someone, and like you, I just had this the other day. I mean, I got my baby in the car and a pregnant wife, and someone pulled the stunt like that. And then all that Papa Bear energy comes up simultaneously where you're just
protective,
like, what, are you trying to kill my family? And it's just like, and you still gotta stop. But, to me, that's just a function of lack of awareness, right? Like, she's so not in that car. She was so somewhere else. And that's an epidemic, right?
Yes.
And it's an epidemic I've seen in the school system, too. Or like, they're like, I don't know why this kid's not focusing. It's like, well, he's probably running a video game in his head. He probably hates this seat that you're making him sit in, and he hates the system that he's being subjected to. And so young Lewis over here is destined to be a dropout and a failure, or ... and then you create your own reality, right? And so how much of that, like what is the framework, or is there even a framework for how someone who doesn't fit inside that mold could find their excellence in your worldview?
It's a constant evaluation of what's working for me and what's not working for me. And it's a constant evaluation of, am I living my dreams, or are my dreams exciting enough for me to be inspired every single day? And I think a lot of people aren't dreaming big enough. We don't take the time to go back to when we were 5, 6, 7 years old and allow ourselves to dream. I'm talking about going into nature for an hour and not taking your phone or computer with you and no one else, just you and your thoughts and a pen and a notepad, and allowing yourself to dream. If you could have anything you wanted, no matter how silly or unreasonable it may seem from your family's point of view or your spouse's point of view, if you could have anything you wanted, any type of life you wanted, what would be included? Who would be included? Where would you be? What experiences and feelings and tastes and smells would you be having? I don't think people actually, like, if you ask everyone that and say, when was the last time you sat for an hour and dreamed about everything you wanted in your life? Like, there's not many people that do that anymore. It's a lost art. And it may sound weird or woo-woo-y, and trust me, I'm the opposite of woo-woo. I'm all about action and results. Like, that's my nature. But I know the power of visualization and dreaming, because it's what I've been doing since I was a kid. And in everything I dream, I create, or I get really close to it. Like, I've been dreaming about the Olympics for decades, and I'm rarely close to it. It's really hard to do, but I'm close. I'm on the USA national team, and I'm on the path. I'm on the journey. And I think the framework is being aware of, am I doing everything in my life? Like, if life was over today, am I achieving everything and on the path to achieving everything I want personally? And am I serving the world in a big way by doing what I want to do? And so for me, greatness, my definition is discovering and maximizing our unique born gifts and talents, making the most of them to pursue our dreams with those gifts, and then making the maximum amount of impact on the people around us, or as many people as possible, with those gifts and following our dreams. So that's kind of my framework, is that, am I living the way I want to live every day? If not, what's not working and how can I shift it? Am I making the biggest impact on the people around me? That means, am I present? Am I connecting to them? Am I looking people in the eyes? Am I giving them a quick little hug, or am I actually holding them for 5 seconds where it's probably a little uncomfortable for them, but I just want to tell them how much I appreciate them and hug them for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. And that's my I guess, framework. Obviously, I talk about in my book, these 8 principles to become great in your life, in your business, your relationships, that, we could dive in if we want to, but really it's, am I living the way I've always dreamed of? If not, what am I sacrificing? And is that serving me?
Love that. Love that. Well, what happened to that? I mean, is that such a luxurious item to dream about life? I mean, are we so caught in the humdrum where we're not even allowed to do that? There's no time to stop and measure thrice.
I think I think we allow the pressures of other people to dictate our lives, and we react as opposed to create the life we want to. We react to conditioning from our parents, obviously early on, like, I'm sure your parents said, you got to be a doctor, right? Or something. Or
100%.
maybe that was your dream. I don't know. But you were probably influenced in a specific way. And it's probably been amazing for you. And you've probably shifted from what your parents wanted you to be to being a doctor in the way you've wanted to do it, which is very different than a traditional doctor now. Because you're like, that actually doesn't work for me.
Yep.
And I want to create a media empire to educate people and create movies and products and teach and educate. That inspires me. And I'm grateful my parents led me to this, but what they wanted was actually the complete nightmare for me. It wasn't like a dream. Maybe I'm throwing words in your mouth, but as an example.
No, it's pretty damn
You know what I mean?
accurate. And with the caveat of saying what they wanted for me was the best that they knew at the time, but they
That's
were
it.
enslaved by just a meme. Like they didn't
Exactly.
know. Like when we're I don't know, we're close to the same age.
Yes.
In my day it was either be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Like what else are you
Yeah.
gonna do? If you go to school, you
Yeah.
could do one of those three. And now it's like, what do you mean start a blog? Like it's just the world's completely upended.
Exactly. And luckily, my dad, I think because he didn't pursue his dreams and he was always resentful because he had my older brother when he was 19, then 2 other sisters, then me. He couldn't go pursue his dream. He was 19 when my mom got pregnant. They got married. He just had to fit that role of, well,
Get to
we're
work.
getting married. I got to work 3 jobs. I got to struggle to provide for my family.
Yep.
So I was very fortunate that my dad went through that and realized, hey, go after your dreams and chase it, because at some point you may have to have a family and then they're going to be over potentially. That's probably where he was coming from. So
Yeah.
luckily, he always said, never let anyone hold you back from your dreams. And I've been going after it, because I was influenced by that. I gave myself the permission to go after it. And I think a lot of people feel guilty for going after the dreams because someone else told them that that's not what they're supposed to be doing, and they really care about that someone else. That could be their friend, their parents, and we want to be accepted more than anything, obviously. That's what we want, connection and intimacy and acceptance. And so we don't want to let people down. I don't want to let anyone down. So it's having the conversation with someone saying, listen, I don't want to let you down, but I'm going to be okay, or I'm going to figure it out. And this is what really fulfills me and excites me. So I think a lot of people just aren't aware and present to their dreams because they don't feel like they're possible without letting people down or upsetting people. And we are, a nation of people pleasers. I'm a big people pleaser. I want to please everyone, right? But sometimes that's at our expense and we hurt ourselves along the way.
So if I'm listening to this and thinking, hey man, I want to do that, but I've got a mortgage and car payments and these kids
Yes.
and tuitions and all that kind of crap. That sounds great, buddy, but I'm already living your dad's ex-life, right?
Right.
How do I pivot?
It's interesting. I had a conversation with a woman who's 68 yesterday, and I could tell she wasn't excited about life. And she had been working this career for a while. She'd been married for 21 years on her third marriage. And she's also a therapist. So she coaches other people about like sticking it out and things like that. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, life at a 10 is incredible. You have everything you want. And life at a 1 is you're completely miserable and feel trapped and, terrified. Where are you at right now? And she said 1. No hesitation, said 1. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay.
Wow.
I said, so how long have you been at a 1? She said, a number of years. And I say, and you could leave it all behind. If you could leave it all behind, get the divorce or leave the relationship, leave the jobs you're in, leave the country, whatever it is, if you could leave it all behind, where do you think you'd be at? Like, where would you think you'd be at in a year from now? She's like, well, I'm terrified to do that. Like, that's why I haven't done it, because I'm terrified. But I'm like, where would you be at? She said, at least a 7. Just leaving, she'd be at a 7. Not knowing if she had a job coming into this and this and this. And I was like, so how much longer do you want to live your life at a one? And how much longer are you to keep living at a one when you already know that there's other options available for you? So what I would say is, I don't know if that answered it, but what I would say
Yeah.
is that when you have those responsibilities, I get it. I get it. Like, I mean, I actually don't get it because I haven't experienced that, but I get that you might feel stuck or might feel
Hmm.
like, hey, I've got three kids, I got to work somewhere, and I got to make it happen, and I'm not going to divorce this person. Like, this is what I want. So how can I live the life of my dreams? What I would say is go through this exercise. Go into nature for an hour and dream for an hour of what your life could look like with everything, with your family right now, and the career you'd want to have. And just write it down from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, everything that happens in a perfect day in your dream world. So I'll give an example for just starting it out. I wake up at 7 a.m. with the sun rising, coming through my window, and I'm smiling with so much joy because I can't believe the woman of my dreams is laying next to me. That's how like my perfect day would start out. I don't have that right now, right? But that's how my perfect day would start out. And then I would walk through and I would write this down. I'd be writing this whole thing down all the way to the last moment I go to sleep. What am I doing? What am I experiencing? What foods am I eating? Where am I living? You know, what am I spending my time on in the pursuit of my career or my business that I want to do? Write everything down. The second part of this, so this is one part. The second part of this exercise, and another piece of paper, create an itinerary from the moment you wake up. So if that's 7 or 8 a.m., whatever, write 7 a.m. to the moment you go to bed, 11, midnight. You're going to put every 30 minutes increments what you're doing throughout your day and how you're going to fit that perfect day into your everyday. And you may only get the first hour. It may be like I wake up with my wife and we have incredible talk. We sit out on our balcony. We express how much gratitude we have for where we're at. I go for a 30-minute run. Maybe that's all you get to start. You get the
Hmm.
first hour of your perfect day, but then start building in 30 minutes here and there. Maybe at lunchtime, you get to do something that you dream about. Maybe at nighttime, you get to have the dinner with your family and do something else. So you're adding in 2, 3, 4 hours. Then the job and things like that will come once you start adding in the rest. But just adding that will make you feel more fulfilled. You may not have it all tomorrow, but you can have another 30 minutes of what you want tomorrow. I can guarantee that.
I love that. I love that. That's very
Yeah.
incremental. It's very
Yeah.
sane, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of it's a rational approach to
Yes.
just changing and environmentally hacking your life in a way that's
Exactly.
going to move you to that place, wherever that is. And it
Yeah.
might take a year or two. Who cares, right?
Might take a while. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I don't
like,
have the girl of my dreams right now. You know, it's like I'm still working on my perfect day every single day, but I'm on the path and I'm enjoying the process. And it's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. And if you got everything you wanted in one day, it'll get boring the next day. So
totally.
it's going to evolve and change anyways, but it's enjoying that process.
Yeah, and the anticipation of it, and again,
Yeah.
look, you start off if you start at the place where this poor woman you're talking about. I mean, she's at a one.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from there. You know what I mean? Like you're
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
going to do better just
Exactly.
by your own kind of stated admission, right? Is
Exactly.
walk the dog. Like that's a
Exactly.
great
Do
start.
something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
That's fantastic, man. So, hey, I know you got a book coming out. I know
Yes.
how much work that is. We're actually with the same publisher, so we kind of
You're
compare
in the
notes.
process right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it, and it's fun. It takes a lot of energy to write a book, and it brings a lot out of you, and it really does bring the greatness out of you because, it's like, if you're gonna be a weight loss guru, they're gonna see if you're fat. You know what I mean? If you're gonna talk about greatness,
Right.
they want to see what you're talking about. And so
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of hanging out with you, and you practice what you preach, and it's been great to get to know you. So I really think
Yeah,
that your
man.
life philosophy is something that is a breath of fresh air. And so
Thank you.
just tell our listeners where they could find you.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me online anywhere, lewishowes.com. I've also got a podcast called The School of Greatness, which we talked about. And then I'm at Lewis Howes everywhere online, and you can get the book everywhere.
It's HOWES.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Well, man, good luck to you. I know the book launch is going to put you onto the parade for a while, and you shaking hands and kissing babies. But it's a good book. You need to get out there and press the flesh and share it with the world. It's a good book, it's a good message, and you're a good dude. So thank you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, Jeff, for having me on.
Yeah, man. Always.